Hello everyone, and welcome to October's DIY video. This year we're doing a little bit more than just fall. We're going to do a Thanksgiving turkey. So our Thanksgiving turkey is very cute. And we're going to talk about a messy bow. We haven't made bows on here before. I've always included them, but we're going to show you how to make this little messy bow right here, okay? And then the turkey. He's very cute. Oh, sorry, I have very bad allergies right now. I've done a lot of pre-painting so that you can not have to be on here for hours. So we will start. Let me take everything apart. Okay. So to start with, I took a baby wipe and the nutmeg color, and I baby wiped this. Now I had to baby wipe it once. For some reason this last batch of wood has a lot of grain in it, so baby wipe it once, let it dry completely. It doesn't take that long, it dries pretty quick. And then take your piece of sandpaper and go over it and kind of break that fur off of it, and then baby wipe it again and make sure you're going with the flow of the grain. So the grain runs this way, so I want to baby wipe this way. If the grain runs this way and I run my baby wipe up and down like this, it'll pick up all those little fuzzies. Don't worry if that happens, you can take them off with just letting it dry and sanding it with sandpaper. But it will take at least 2 coats to get them nice and dark like this, okay? And it gets darker as it dries, this color tends to, just so you know. Gosh, now there's gonna be a fly in here, of course. So we'll put him to the side. We'll come back and shade him in a little bit. Then we move on to our back piece, which is our feathers. I've done them in 2 different ways. So the picture I sent you, this is painted. So I sent you a paintbrush. I'm sorry. And you can absolutely paint them. But I kind of thought I liked it a little lighter, so I'm going to baby wipe this one. And that way you can see both styles and decide what you like better on your piece. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, so I've taken my baby wipe and on these it poses a little bit of a trick, so that's why I'm going to do one of these with you. So normally I say just, you know, fold your baby wipe and go at it. Because I don't want it to go over the lines, I was a little more picky about how I kind of folded my baby wipe up. So I folded it up and I took my finger and kind of made a crease like this where I put my finger that I used to do it. Okay. Can you see that, Mom? Mm-hmm. I should have taped this new tablecloth down. It's brand new and it doesn't want to lay flat. So I am going to take my orange. That's what we haven't used yet. We did the same styrofoam platters for paint, so hopefully you guys are liking those. So I'm going to get some paint. I forgot to grab something for myself, so I'm just going to kind of dab it off some on here so I don't have a big glob of paint. And I'm going to start just here in the center. But when I get close to the edge, do I need to get closer? I'm going to be really careful and go right up between those 2 feathers so that I'm not getting any on my bleed on my orange there, okay? Onto my yellow feather. I just went and did the edges first. That way I didn't have to worry about them. And you are going to be shading it right there, kind of giving it some definition with the brown, with the burnt umber. So you don't have to be too worried, because if you got a tiny bit over it would cover up, or if you had a small gap it would cover it up as well. Oops. And if you get it somewhere you don't want it, just wipe it off quickly like I just did. Okay, I'm folding my baby wipe over. That's why you guys have lots of baby wipes this time. And normally I would work from one end to the next. I did this way purposely so that you could see how to do it properly. because it does take a minute to dry. Sorry, I got some orange on my yellow there. Okay. I'm gonna come and do this side, and we're gonna do that same thing. We're just gonna kind of take our point, and that's how we're gonna get our edge defined there. I hope everybody loved that first little taste of fall we had. Tomorrow we're doing the Farm Aid Fair, so I made sure I had everything ready for you guys, because I won't be home tomorrow. Hope to see a lot of you there. It's our first time we're doing it, and it's a juried show, which means the hosts have to look at your work before they decide whether they're going to allow you or not allow you to their craft show. This is the first time I've done a juried event like that, so we'll see how it goes. It's also a little bit different. It's like a boutique style, so instead of having your own booth, they have everyone's stuff kind of mixed together with tags on it. So hopefully it'll be a fun day for everybody. So take your toothpick or something and just grab, I use my scoring tool that I have had forever, but it gets the little things that the baby wipe, if I could think of what I was saying, leaves behind, and picks them up. So it's been a busy few weeks and a busy days getting that all set up over there to have tomorrow. I'm very excited about it. Created a lot of pieces and a lot of ornaments. After the show, I'll start taking orders for personalized ornaments. And remember, I don't know if you guys remember from last year, but it fills up rather quickly. So if there's something you're thinking about that you want a personalized ornament, let me know right away, because last year I had to stop and cut them off way earlier than I thought I was going to have to, just in order to get everything done in time. So I would say to try to order before the 1st of November, because I'm not sure if I'll be open for custom orders after that. Sorry, I got, made a mess with that baby wipe. Wasn't thinking I needed it to do another coat. And this, how many coats you do, is all to your liking. Like if you want it dark, if you want it to be barely seen. I love wood, so to me, I love it when I can use a stained type method to where my grain of my wood shows through. But I wanted to make sure all the colors kind of were similar in depth. And I'm not a huge color person, so this is a lot more color than I'm used to. All right, we'll set those aside, let that dry, and I'll sand it. Go through those. There's a couple places where I really noticed it got in there a lot. It's hard sometimes when I'm trying to show it to you for me to see, so I'm just grabbing and cleaning out the scored lines, which won't matter a ton, so I'm only getting the ones where it's really in there because I'm gonna cover them with brown once this is all dry. I'm going to do the similar type of shading that we've been doing, and then one a little different. You'll notice I gave you a flat brush this time. So if you wanted yours to be dark like this, I can move it, I think. If you wanted yours to be dark, you're going to want to take your paintbrush, I don't think I have it, like this is kind of the size paintbrush that was included in your thing, or a sponge brush or something else you have, and you're going to want to paint it. You could also use the sponges that are included, but what I did on this one is I actually painted him to get the dark color. All right, we're gonna set him aside so he can dry a little bit, and we are gonna move on to our little gobble to you wobble. Yeah, gobble gobble. All right. We're gonna take our white paint, and I'm gonna grab a, sorry about that. I usually already have paint going, but since I had them all done, I didn't have paint ready. I've been trying to make as many ornaments as I can, as fast as I can. I'm in an accountability group, so I have to do a dozen ornaments a week. I mean, obviously I don't have to, but I did it to hopefully help me get more made ahead of time so I can take more of your custom orders. Okay, so you're gonna take your white and you're gonna take a sponge, and even just a quarter of a piece of a sponge you don't really need. Sponges are getting hard to come by again. But you do want to make sure you use your sponge on this because you don't want to get it in the engraving. So do not use the paintbrush, even though it's there. That seems easy. It will get in there, and it, even if you scrape it out of the engraved lines, it doesn't look good. So you're going to get some of your white paint, you're going to dab the extra off, and you are going to gently paint this. It's not a huge area. You do not want to get it down in your lines. If your piece feels a little grainy, you can sand it first. The sanding doesn't seem to bother it because you can blow the sanding right out. But the paint, you can clean it out, but it's not, I've tried to fix lots of things because I hate tossing it, but just doesn't quite fix very well. So we're doing very light up and down pouncing motions. And then we'll let it dry, and then we'll come back and do another coat. I'm not sure if I've showed you guys the sponge shading. We're going to do a little bit of that today too. One little spot left. I try to come up with new things to teach you guys. But we're going on 2 years. Next year will be our 2-year anniversary of doing subscription boxes. You can hear my cat. I don't know why. She's the most vocalist cat one of my kids has ever brought home. So we'll lay that aside. We're going to move on to your little banner. I did this banner with the baby wipe method, also using the blue. So it's already coated. Those scored lines you don't have to worry about. Those are just to show you where to put your pieces. So you don't have to worry about like lining them up and everything being straight. But I did shade it a little differently. So you can see how it's shaded on the top. The way I did that was I shaded it with black. So we're going to take some black paint. Very little. And a sponge. You're going to get it on your sponge, and you're going to dab your sponge. Can you see the paper towel? Mm-hmm. Off to where you don't have much paint left on it at all. Okay? And then you're going to kind of go over the edges. Press gently at first. If you're not getting as much paint as you want to be getting off of it, press a little harder. Get a little bit more paint. Do the same thing with brush and getting it off. I kind of want to just get that little banner edge along there. I'm going to come up a little bit more so it matches the top. So this is a way, for some people the paintbrush method is hard. This is just yet another way of kind of giving your piece some dimension with shading. The but you want to make sure you have very little paint on it, or else you'll leave a square or hard line that you don't want. Like I just did right there. If that happens, just grab your baby wipe, or clean spot on your baby wipe, and just wipe it off. I got in a hurry. Cover it up with a little bit of blue. And I was really surprised that I liked this blue color, but I started with navy and it just didn't look right. So I changed over to this 2 blue and it was perfect. Okay, so there's how your shading will look with the sponge. Just make sure you're going slowly, getting off as much paint as you can. You'll see how the paint's darker on one side and then how it gets lighter over here. You want to wait till it gets lighter like that before you start sponging your piece. Now, the letters were also painted with the sponge painting method, so everybody's familiar with that. We've already painted those and dried them. I'm going to sand this orange piece so we can give it another coat while we're putting our letters on. Did I grab glue? I did. Okay. Oh, actually, I don't think I need to put another coat on it. Okay, so that looks good like that. All right, we will go ahead and glue our letters on. So this is the new glue I've been using. Now I haven't 100% trusted it with anything I've sold, but I've been using it for my personal stuff and it seems to be working really well. What I like about it is when it gets on your fingers, it rubs off or washes off much more easily. And it does still dry pretty fast and seem to keep things in place. What I don't like about it is it's not delicate. So it clumps up more. You have to be careful not to get too much glue on there. It comes out more like an Elmer's glue. It's not clear, but it does dry clear. Some of these letters are jointed together and some aren't. So they're pretty hefty ones, but just still be careful when you're pulling them off the paint or off the tape. So you'll see how it kind of comes out in a pretty decent amount. So I usually just have a paper towel nearby and just kind of dab off the excess. So you're just going to glue them on like that. But see, it already held it on there. But it does give you a little wiggle room where the other glue, it was like you stick it down there, you better hope it's in the right spot because you're not moving it. So the name of it is Tight Bond Quick and Thick Multi-Surface. And I like this better than, like, some people say, well, I use this kind of wood glue. The wood glue super glue works pretty good. But the normal wood glue doesn't adhere the painted wood as well. Now, wood to wood, it's fine. But once you paint something, it doesn't seem to hold the glue, or the hold is tight. See, I got too much glue on there. And with the letters, it's the worst. When you're painting something big, it's no big deal. But it's the little stuff that makes it hard. And then I end up using I'm gonna grab an old brush. I end up using one of my brushes because I'm just like, because I'm in a hurry. And then I'm mad later because I ruined it, that it's now glued together. But this is an old one that I've already done it to before, so it's one of Ashton's brushes. I don't pay very much for those. My good brushes, I try to make sure they don't get anything. My little sparkly brushes, you know, the one thing I do for myself. You guys probably really don't need to see me put all of these on. I should have had them, some of them on here, but I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure I could show you the shading. Almost done. See, it's where it gets in those little corners that's bugs me, and I don't know. I feel like I can see it even though the glue's, even though it's clear, like I don't like to see the glue sticking out. Like how you see on manufactured things when you go to Dollar General and everyone's like, oh, I can buy that at Dollar General for such and such. Well, yeah, you can, but it was made in China or wherever, and it was put together by a machine. As you see the glue sticking out and the hot glue coming off and all that good stuff. So handmade is much better in my opinion. And I always try to gift handmade and local things. Dropping. That's why I buy these tables like that. They're the felted back ones, but then it doesn't ruin my table. All right, so we have that glued. So there's your little give thanks ribbon. We're gonna come back to our body here. And what I didn't say was the little beak and the gobbler, I used a baby wipe for those as well. So I did this in the gold, the King's Gold, and I did this in the wine color that we're using for the red. And I've already shaded them ahead of time with the paintbrush method, and I shaded them with brown, which is also what I shaded this, and I'm gonna shade this with. We're gonna use a sponge for time's sake on the big piece. With the other piece, we'll use a brush, just to kind of remind you guys. And I'm also gonna show you how to do it with how I did this a little differently with a flat brush. So I'm gonna get some burnt umber on my sponge. I'm gonna dab it off. And I'm just gonna go around the edges. It doesn't really have to be a lot, just enough where it kind of like differentiates it from the feathers. So I'm just gonna, not done, but I wanna show you the difference between where there's shading and where there's no shading on the, you see the difference in how the contrast, it kind of separates itself. We are gonna put a little, what's it called? A little spacer between there for the ribbon anyways, but it helps kind of differentiate that from the piece behind it. And like I said, baby wipes are your friend. Have baby wipes nearby. If you get some on something, just clean it off real quick. I also painted his feet with a baby wipe in the King's Gold as well. I kept going back and forth to this turkey. In fact, the first project I wanted to do didn't work out. And I thought to myself, you know what? It must be meant to be. We need to make that a cute little turkey. I was just gonna make him for just to sell on my own. And then I thought, no, you know, he's very cute. Everybody needs a little turkey. Okay, all right, so we have him all shaded. Don't worry about anything in here because everything's gonna get glued on to him. So you won't see any of those parts. I'm gonna set that aside. We're gonna take our sandpaper and sand this little medallion here. It'll go around his neck. pay attention if you sand something like brown that you don't sand your white with that same piece of sandpaper. So I am going to sand it, but I'm going to make sure to use the other side. And always try to sand with the grain of your wood. If you can't tell once you've painted it, turn it over and you'll be able to tell. All right, we'll give him one more coat of white paint. And remember, we're not dabbing hard because we don't want to get down in those scored lines. So funny. I always think like, oh my gosh, it's taking so long while I'm making it for you guys. I don't want to have you on here forever, but I want to make sure you see what you want to see. So always feel free to fast forward or stop and pause. You know, don't feel bad doing that. I just want to make sure everybody gets all the information. We're actually going to come back and shade this guy too. I'm going to use a brown or the black. I think the black. So the place for tomorrow looks beautiful. So it's at the Struckmeyer Barn. I don't know if anybody's been to weddings out there, is all that I've pretty much known. It's on Sycamore Slough Road. Where is my little stylus thing? Oh, there it is. So I got a little bit of paint in the scored line, not the engraved line. So the scored line, it comes out of pretty good. It's these engraved lines that it doesn't come out of well. All right, so that's good. We are going to take the black and our sponge again and dab the paint off. I use a napkin because I can see what's going to come off of it and how easily. I'm just going to quickly shade that. It's still a little bit wet. You should wait till it's dry. I'm just doing it so that I don't forget to shade it for you guys. And I chose black for this piece because we're going to use a black and white ribbon around his neck. So I felt like it went better with that. Okay, can you see that? Can you see it on there, Mom? Mm-hmm. Okay. We're going to lay that aside. You can paint the back of that if you want to, because it might get flipped the other direction on this original piece I made. I did paint the back. And I just used the baby white method and painted it a dark brown. Just something so that it doesn't look unfinished. I do the same on the backs of my pieces. If I think it's something that might turn around or not, I'll take a baby wipe and paint the back. Okay, so the shading we're gonna do on here is gonna be on the orange feathers. And what we're doing is just trying to highlight the feathers in the ribbing in them. So I'm going to take, usually, and I've showed you guys before, I will use, oh, this fly is driving me crazy, an angled brush. But some people shade with a flat brush. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it with a flat brush. So I'm going to get my brush wet. I'm going to get the water off, but I don't want it dry because the water is what helps it blend. I'm going to dip my brush into a little bit of the brown paint. I'm going to drag it off, and I'm going to use my brush like this, like I'm going down a straight line like a pencil. Now I chose to paint or to shade on the top side of my feathers. So on all the bars, I'm going on the top side. So I'm just going to follow right, can you turn it down if I come over here? I'm going to follow right down along that line. On top of the feather. And it's a really thin little line that it ends up making. So it creates the shading like that, okay? I'll do a couple more so you guys can see. When your brush starts to separate, I'll show you when mine does, you know you need more water. Well, it's starting to do it right now. So as soon as I'm done with this line, I'll show you. So see how my brush is starting the, I don't know if you can see it, let me go like this. It's not doing it enough yet. As soon as it does, I'll show you. What happens is it starts to get dry, so this piece isn't as dark up here. So it'll start to separate, and then I know I need water again. Because water is what kind of keeps your paint fluid and moving when you're shading. And you can just come right back up that other side. Again, staying right on top of that line. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Once you get everything together, you're not going to see every little piece. So now it's starting to separate. Can you see that?
Yeah.
You hold it right in front. So when it starts doing that, I know that my brush is too dry. So I'm going to wet my brush again, and like before, I'm just going to kind of get my brush, wipe my brush off on the sides like that, but I'm going to leave it wet other than that. I'm going to dip it in the paint. I'm going to try it out on my tray like I do every time, kind of working that paint into my brush a little bit. And then I'm going to come back. I feel like things were sticking to me. I'll go over on this side. I come back, and I'm going to go right down that V and back up this other one. And sometimes it will bleed a little bit because we are working with wood and it has the grain of the wood there. So it'll bleed a little bit in the wood, but after everything dries and everything, it'll look just fine. I can't do it with my other hand, but like that maybe. I want to make sure you guys can see what's going on and my hand isn't right in front of you. We'll do this one leaf and then I'll finish the rest after. But that way you guys get to see how I finished it. We're going to a friend's house tonight to watch Hocus Pocus, even though we have the thing in the morning. The Farm Maid Fair. I figured I love that movie and I just wasn't going to miss out on it. So I'll just be tired tomorrow. That's life, right? So that side wasn't as dark. It's hard to do it where I can't see. I can see the bottom of the line, but I can't see exactly where my paint's going that far away. I need to get new glasses apparently. Okay, one more rib to... And when I'm getting paint on there, I'm just getting my tip in there. I'm not getting paint all the way up to my ferrule. This is called the ferrule, where the paintbrush meets. You don't want paint up inside there because you'll never get it out. You can go right back the other direction on it too if it's... And you can make them as thin or as thick as you want. Your shading is your shading, your project. When I come down the feather, I made it get a little bit wider. I try to go down both sides. So we're going to do that next. Okay, so now we're going to come down the middle. And so now instead of being on one side, I'm going to go right on the line. And I know sometimes the straight lines are hard, so what I recommend is try to go to where it breaks. Okay, so I picked up my paintbrush when I got to this line where it breaks. And then I'm gonna come back down here and I'm gonna pull down again till the next line breaks. Get some more water on my brush. Go down another set. I must not got enough paint on my brush sometime. There we go. Okay. So there you go. So that kind of gives your feather some definition. And this inside here is going to get covered with your turkey. Okay. Now we will glue our feet on our turkey. So we have our little yellow feet. Can you, do I need to put it right there, Mom?
No, I need to. Okay.
You can see? Okay. So we're going to glue our feet on our turkey. And I tried to cut the hole a little in this so not as much glue would come out because I got a 2-pack. But the glue's so much thicker that it won't come out, the smaller hole. I was gonna try to get some, they sell these bottles on Amazon that have a little almost like needle-like tip, and to see if I could get it working on that. So there's your feet. And the score line was right there for them, so it's really easy to put it right where it was scored. And then this is gonna be our little beak. Our little beak and our gobbler. I don't know what that's called. I think it's a snood, actually, is the technical term for it. You know, my oldest son showed chickens in 4-H all the way through his senior year of high school, so we had to learn lots about birds. Okay, I'm gonna glue that on. Then we're gonna wait till your piece is dry, but I'm gonna move ahead so that you guys aren't sitting here waiting on me. And we're gonna start, actually, I will set them aside. We'll do our bow next. Okay. So, you have all these pieces of ribbons and bows. This is everything that comes in your little kit, as far as ribbons and bows are concerned. You're gonna take this with here with the little strings and set it aside because you're gonna need that. You're gonna take this. This is to hang up your turkey, so you don't need this. You have a really long piece like this. You're gonna set it aside. That's for your turkey's neck. You have a piece that matches that long piece that you're also gonna set aside for your turkey's neck. So what you're left with is 2 of the 7/8 inch black and white ribbon, 2 of the 3/8 buffalo check orange and white ribbon, 2 of the brown 1-inch ribbon, and 2 of this burlap with the dark edging on it. And these are all 6 inches long. So for this messy bow, I make all my little pieces the same length. Sometimes I go back and cut them afterwards once the bow's made so that everything looks right. But to start with, you're gonna take your scissors and you're gonna dovetail your bows. So I fold my piece in half and then I fold it in half again. So you see how I have that? And then now I'm gonna come right here and I'm gonna cut that corner off. When I open it up, it should be right, but see, I missed that part right there. So I'm gonna fold it back together again. Apparently I didn't have it folded evenly. There you go. Okay, we'll try to get it right this time. Okay, I'm gonna fold it in half. And then I'm gonna fold it in half again. So So like that, like a little taco. And I'm going to cut the corner off. That's how it's supposed to look. It's hard when I can't see it. Okay. This tablecloth is driving me nuts, you guys. I'm sorry. You're going to take your brown ribbon and you're going to dovetail it as well. So all these ribbons, I should have pre-done this for you guys. Hush, Isabel. Sorry, hopefully the dogs don't start barking. You know, I have miniature dash hounds. They think they need to bark at everything. Just gonna keep cutting. All right, so now those are dovetailed. Now you're gonna take your black and white, and this is the last one we're gonna dovetail. On the 3/8 ribbon, I usually just cut it at a slant. In fact, sometimes at this 7/8 I cut at a slant. In fact, that's what I'm gonna do. It's a little hard to. So I'm just taking and cutting the very end at a slant just so it looks prettier. You don't have messy ends of your ribbon. Okay. Now remember, these two little ribbons we're not using. We're setting those aside. So we're gonna start and we're gonna crisscross everything. Have this where you can reach it though. Okay, can you see? Do I need to come forward more? Okay, so you're gonna put this down and that down. So you're making a little X there and you want it to be fairly even. And you're gonna take this next piece. You're going to do the same thing. What did I do with my orange ribbon? No, it's right there. Next thing with the black and white. And then we're going to do it with our orange and white too. Okay? And now, so now you have created this. You are going to take that and you're going to scrunch it up right here in the middle. So you have that now. You're going to take this and you're going to place it on the front of it. So you're going to slide it through your fingers. See, I'm sliding it through, and I'm going to have one piece of jute on this side and one piece of jute on the other side. Okay, so I slid that through. I'm going to turn it upside down and I'm going to hold that tight and I'm going to tie that in a knot. Holding both sides, I'm going to flip it back over and I'm going to make sure everything looks okay and is still on the right sides of where it's supposed to be. And then I'm going to tie it tight. And we can still rearrange things. All right, now it's tied tight. It looks messy. You're going to flatten it back out. You're going to pull things where they need to go. Sometimes things want to turn under here, just twist them right back. We can cut things if it needs to be cut. It's not holding the right way. There it goes. I'm going to come back around and I'm going to tie this in the front again. And then, actually I'm not tying it though. I'm just slipping it through like if I was going to tie a knot like this. And then I'm going to do that same thing on the back because it doesn't seem to be wanting to hold straight. I don't usually do them this way, but I thought it was an easier way for you guys to learn. Okay, so now we're going to fan out our bow the way we want it. it looks like our, why is it when you do something when you record something, it's never perfect the first time. Okay, so see how some of our ribbons are longer than the others? That's kind of what happens. So what you do is you get it arranged the way you like it. So I like my little ribbon like this. And now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna cut them. I want these little ribbons to be shorter than my back piece. So I'm just gonna snip them again, just like we did. And these ones that are dovetailed, you can still dovetail them on here. I'm just gonna bend it like that and cut it, and I'll just do each one individually, okay? See how the bottom side looks. The brown one looks okay, but the other two could be a little shorter. Cut those a little shorter. Okay, and sometimes I cut things several times before I get it exactly how I like it, but I'd much rather cut it twice than take off too much ribbon the first time. Cut this little brown one again. So I just pinched it together there and came under here and dovetailed it. You just have to be a little more careful cutting when they're all together like this, that you're not cutting other pieces. See if the bottom one on this side looks good. Oh, the orange is a little long. The rest is pretty good. So there you have your little messy bow. And I'm gonna show you guys how to put it on. So don't cut these. These little pieces that you have hanging is how we're gonna attach it, so do not cut them. We're gonna do, at some point, I don't know, we don't have a date yet, but we're gonna do a bow making class at the Arts Council. All we're gonna do is make bows. We're not gonna make a project, well, we're gonna make bows. So you'll have bows to take home. Hopefully we can do it before Christmas so you can have some cute little bows to wrap your presents with, okay? All right, so you're gonna take your turkey, just set this aside for right now, your bow aside. You're gonna take your turkey and you have 2 pieces of black and white ribbon. You're gonna take the shorter piece and you're gonna put it around his neck. Right at the top, right where the little crease is. You're gonna bend him over, turn him over, and we're gonna attach it. See if the glue will hold it. If not, I'll put a glue dot in your package. I think the glue will hold it. Oh, I'll try out the Loctite before I send it with you guys. If it doesn't work, I'll put a sticky thingy in there for you guys. So I'll make sure that if this glue works, I'm gonna find some kind of way to get little bottles to send you. But see, it dries really quick. But I'll try out the super glue or the stick fast first. Okay, so you had these 3 odd looking little pieces in there that had X's on them. Those pieces are spacers. So they're spacers to kind of just give it a little bit of dimension. So you're gonna put one on each side of your turkey and one about right here on the head, in the middle of the head of your turkey. You're gonna glue those on. So you want it to hold it off of the turkey feathers, but you want it to be kind of evenly. So this is a good way to space them out. Okay. Just leave it there for a second. While it's drying, we're gonna take our other piece of black and white ribbon. This should be your last piece you have left. And we're gonna, I just kind of twisted it up on the end a little bit and poked it through the hole. You can take something and help you poke it through the hole, like the end of your paintbrush. Oh, I know what you could use, the new stylus I gave you guys. If I had left one out here for me. Mom, will you see if there's a stylus right there? Oh, there is.
Got it?
Okay, so yours look a little bit different, but I gave you guys a little stylus this time, and I'm going to show you how to use it in a minute. But you could use it to poke it through. Okay? You're probably going to pull it about halfway through. By now, your ribbon and your little thing should be dry. You're going to tip this over, and you're going to slide. So see, I have it like this. You're going to slide this back end gently up underneath of your string. Because we don't want to pull it open. All right, you're gonna knot it. And then I just tied a little bow. One thing I do to try to keep my bow ends looking similar is I take and I flatten. This is not how I tie my shoes, but it's how I tie my bows when I want it to look cute. I take both ends kind of like rabbit ears, and I tie it that way, just tucking them around each other. Some people tie their shoe like this too, but okay. I must not have left the other ribbon long enough to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and finish wiggling around with this, and then I'll fix the back. Okay. All right. And see, so I'm going to take my ends and I'm going to cut them at an angle. Just so they look nice. I'm going to go back here and fix this that obviously didn't stay glued. So if this glue doesn't hold it, I'm sure the super glue won't hold it. So I'll put a glue dot in your guys' bag. They're permanent glue dots, so they'll work just fine. All right, so there's how the little guy. So I'm not going to glue him on here just yet because I need to get a glue dot out to glue his back. So I'm just going to set him to the side. But I am going to show you how to finish this piece. So you had one more piece of jute left. You are going to run it through from the front and then just tie it right here. If you tie it twice, your tail should end up pointing downward so that it doesn't show. So however long, I gave you more string than you need because I always feel like when I have just enough, it's too hard to tie something. But however long you want it to be. And then just tie it in 2 knots and you'll be fine. I a lot of times put a dot of glue on my knot just to make sure it doesn't come undone, but it shouldn't. So now you have that and you have this. So you're gonna take this, these 2 little ends, see if I can do it where you guys can see. So you're gonna take those 2 little ends and decide where you want your bow, whether that side or this side. I want mine on this side. So I'm gonna take these 2 pieces that stuck out and I'm gonna tie it around here. Can you see that, Mom? Mm-hmm. And I just tie it in a knot. And then I cut the extra string off. Not too close. If you cut it too close, it tends to want to come undone. But I just cut it so it's not seen. Cut this one. Same. And then you can slide it down all the way. And there's your little bow. The reason we put this on the front is the raffia kind of helps hold a messy bow in place. And I think they're a quick, easy bow to make for anything. They're just so easy to make. I'm going to show you what the stylus was for though. Let's turn our turkey over here. Last month I gave you guys a little tool like this, but I forgot to tell you what it was for. So it's for making the cheeks. I didn't realize that until I just went to put my pilgrim sign up or scarecrow sign up and realized he had no cheeks. So you're gonna get a tiny bit of your red paint. You're gonna get a tiny bit of your red paint, just barely any, on the tips, like barely any. You're gonna rub it around, kind of working it up into your brush. You're gonna take that paper towel we had, and we're gonna go like this till we see like not much is coming off, kind of like a blush would be. And then you're just gonna go like this and kind of just swirl it around. I wipe too much off. I'm always afraid of, I don't want to have a big old red. All right, I won't wipe off so much this time. I wish I could find littler ones. I have found them before that are more the size of paintbrushes, but they're not so easy to find. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. So you see how you make the little cheek? You should do it before you put your nose on it. Mine's messed up a little bit on that side over there, but I'll fix it. So we have our two little cheeks. We're gonna take that stylus and some white paint, and you're just gonna dip the end in there and then dip it on a thing so you can see about how little it made your dots. So you're gonna be able to use this for dots going forward in your eyes or wherever you need them. So I think this is a cute little kind of, it's from toll painting days when people toll painted that they use this. But it's kind of just, I put like 3 little dots. And over here I did 3 little dots on the top. And I usually do a bigger dot and I go down so gradually my dot gets smaller. But like in the cheeks, I did 3. So like little dimples. And you kind of really need to be straight up and down, because or else they won't look like dots. They'll look like smudges. Okay? And then I think that was all I did on him. And then the rest were on the feathers, which is where I really thought that it kind of brought it together. So I'm just gonna make 3 little dots and get some more white paint. It's like drying up. And you don't want to use paint that's drying up because it won't cleanly leave a dot. It'll look messy. When you start getting a lot of paint on your stylus or embossing tool, they're used for scrapbooking for embossing too. And one end's smaller than the other. And you just want to kind of keep it even. So if I dot this feather up there, I could dot this one down here. Or I can dot them both at the same places. But make it your own. It doesn't have to look like mine. It just kind of gives it a little bit extra. Looks a little more finished, and I think it's cute. All right, and I'm not gonna put any at the top because we're gonna cover that up. Your bow's gonna cover the top up. Okay, well, here's what your finished project looks like. After you get it glued together, you're gonna wanna glue your sign on right here. But that's the difference between paint and stain. Okay? So that will help you make your choice if you want a painted one or a stained one with the baby white method. Okay, well, I hope you guys have a fabulous October. I will see you after Halloween. Thank you. Have a great day.